Hello.
Hiya.
Hello. Hello,
Yeah.
Steve, and Gary, and me, Rich.C. Welcome, everybody. Those of you who are with us right from the beginning, welcome. So let's get cracking without further ado. And Steve, it's you. And what's up at Sarissa? What's going on?
This week's been very busy. We've got a big trade order, which the first delivery is on this week. So everyone's been doing that, and that's kind of taking the focus. It's like 1,000 kits got to go out on Friday, so tomorrow. So that's been fun. So watching pallets of MDF just sort of shrink into nothing.
Yeah. We should do a time lapse.
Yeah. Alamo, we've done quite a lot on the Alamo this week as well. It's been ticking over, but we got quite through. We're not going to send any out tomorrow. There'll be a big chunk goes out early part of next week, and then that's it. We'll be on the home stretch for that. So that's been quite good. We fitted that in very well. The guys have done really well. So yeah, it's been all right. It's been a bit manic this week. Yeah, so
people will be glad to hear that's coming their way with the big sets. They'll be prepping their brushes and spray paints, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, certain people have already posted that. So we're going to catch up a little bit with some questions from everybody in a little while, but we need to catch up first with a question from someone last week about scaling, and I think that's probably yours, Gary. Scaling, what we mean there is, of course, we've got a 28, we've got a 20, and we've got a 15, and other scales as well. But can we just take a set in 28 and shrink it down to 15 and release that?
With a special shrink ray.
There you go.
I just wanted to buy that Acme shrink ray. And
Well, we did a little video once of that, or a little animation. It's not as easy as you might think. If you imagine, I use 3D CAD, and then it's all 2D and flattened out, as we explained last week. But there are CAD systems which are called parametric, where what you can do is when you design something, you can specify if you move that hole, the bolt moves. If you make something thicker, that moves. But if you imagine the number of components we have might be limited on just a building, over a range, it's quite extensive. And then the number of joints that we have, it starts to get really, really component heavy with all the parametrics. So how we actually do it is we'll design the kit with the scales in mind if we choose to do it. And then what happens is we'll go into 2D. Quite often it's scaled by a percentage. Sometimes it's best to start with a 20mm kit and go 28 and 15, or a 28 kit and go down the other two. Because for us, the thing that's always a constant is the thickness of the MDF.
Yep.
Which means all the slots, all the linkages and depths of things have to change as well. So quite often it's easier to design it, get it into 2D, stretch all those components out, and then re-3D it to make sure you haven't forgotten something. And then sometimes it does mean that you have to reconfigure the design a little bit. It could be the assembly. Some parts get fiddly, like all the little window frames and the crosses in the windows.
Yeah.
If you start at 2mm and you go down to 15, they become so thin and brittle because of the waxes and the resins in the wood. When they're heated up and they melt, they go quite rigid afterwards when they cool down. And so that's why they're quite brittle, some of those small parts. So all of those little bits have to be adjusted as well.
Yeah.
It's not just the joints and the interlocks, it's every other component. So it can be done. It's just a time-consuming thing. And if you imagine something, we've been discussing a very large farm in Belgium, and that we have in scale. But if you imagine all of those buildings on that large battlefield scaled in different ways, and everything, so it's all been worked out for that. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of components.
Yes,
it's easier to move a bolt on a car than it is to rescale a whole thing.
Yeah.
Having worked on office furniture systems parametrically, we gave up with it years ago with that for the same reason. Too many components all at the same time suddenly move.
Yeah.
So it can be done, and it's just a laborious process.
Well, you in essence, sometimes it's easier just to go back to you early on and then redo bits, isn't it?
Just the outer lines and then go.
Yeah, just add all your and rework all the joins and slots, and they might not be exactly the same. And the other thing as well is the scale change sometimes makes it look different, even though you think it's scaled down. It should just look like a smaller version.
And that
certain details don't suit being bigger or smaller. If you look at like Europe ones in 15 and 20, they look quite busy. In 28, they look a bit flatter and they don't look quite as busy, but they're exactly the same. Everything's scaled the same. They just look different to your eye.
Yeah.
So sometimes you might have to add a little bit more in, or adjust something, or remove something when you drop them up and down. Yeah.
So So we're talking about the size of doors.
Yeah.
Doors. Oh.
Yeah. I defy anybody to do it quickly. But the results can be nice, as with Rorke's Drift, or it's quite nice even with the World War II stuff to see it scale down.
Yeah.
And those little, it's keeping the essence of what you started with, as Steve was saying. That's all that matters.
Yeah, the keeping the essence is where all that time and effort goes to, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and they do look rather smart when they're shrunk down. And I think you were alluding to, which one could it be? Hougoumont? No. Papalock Farm? No, it must be La Haye.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah.
Maybe.
So when are we going to see that then?
We in a smaller scale. We will see it this weekend in the newsletter.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Right there.
Yeah.
And then if people want the other ones, they need to shout about it.
Yes, because we've got quite a backlog of things that we're working on, and we took Animo successfully to Kickstarter just for that reason, wasn't it? To help us create that space and time to do things. So some of these smaller scales people were after, we will get to them, I'm sure, but I think you just need to shout a bit louder, say we want something in our smaller scale. Yeah. One of the other questions we got came in was what's the likelihood of us doing something in, say, resin combo 3D prints, maybe sort of coloured?
We have actually done some resin 3D printed stuff, haven't we? Gary's done little bits and pieces when we've done some of the kits that are on the photographs. There's little accessories and bits and pieces that have been 3D printed just for the photos.
Yeah.
I gave you. I was going to say chimney pots. Yeah, chimney stacks. So we actually have done things like that. So
there's a lot of bits I did for the Japanese mountain village.
Yeah.
Behind the book on the shelf there, it is like my first little 3D printer, an extruder. I did a lot there and tested bits out.
Yeah. So we've talked about this, that maybe we would offer the chimney pots and things like that, all these little bits and pieces that are there anyway. We could offer them as prints or maybe even STL files. And never say never. Yeah. I think the little detail bits. It's like the roof tile sheets we do. They just add a little bit of something extra. You don't need them. There's other ways you could do it, but if you just for ease and for the lazy people amongst us who just then
some of those tiles are lovely shapes, and I wouldn't want to spend hours cutting them.
There is. I mean, there is a selection. They do come in different scales. So
and of course, there's the questions like this, guys. That really have prompted us to move on with some of the little bits that we're working on.
Well, one comment I was just going to say, moving on rapidly with things, if people shout loud enough, is the this week you shared the photo of some new releases.
Oh,
yeah. Wait a minute. And one of them was the little sort of elf fantasy ship.
oh
Yes.
And there was a few comments from people saying they thought it was great and they'd love us to do an Arab Dow. So that was on Monday. Guess what's been done this week? So we'll we just got a little bit of testing to do on that, haven't we? We've not actually done a test cut, but it's there. So we'll
AJ's away at the moment a little, or about to be away for a little bit.
Yeah. So he's still not, the arrival's not happened yet, but it's imminent. So
it's like the postage with me, Steve. When you say you've sent something,
yeah,
never arrives on time.
Don't let's not go there with the post. No.
No.
Yeah.
Steve often he sends it, but quite often it's there, and he wants to add something to it, so it goes the day after he said he sent it, without.
With a new shiny, and then another new shiny goes in on top of that.
Yeah, that's right.
What was going to be just one little box ends up being a big box.
Yeah, the full crate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Dow is on the way, is it?
Yeah. So we might put a little teaser of that in the newsletter this weekend and show off some renders or something. But it looks really, really nice. Yeah. I like it.
Should work.
Well, that's another example of someone's question prompting an idea that's just taken hold. And
well, I started research on something else that is kicking around in the background, let's say, and So
the Dow is one we've talked about it a couple of times, haven't we? And we keep saying, it'd be really cool that we should do one of those, and then a few people asked, so we can't let people down. So
yeah. So that's just one of the requests that's out there. What's the oddest request you've had, Gary? Do you think? We'll go to Gary first, then Steve can follow up.
You mean go to Gary first, so Steve can try and think of something?
I wish you would Steve first, because I'm not sure we have really. Well, I don't ever see them as odd. I'm looking around because there's bits and pieces that
there's some goodies in there, aren't there?
there are things there that really I should have prepared better to hide. But I think I never considered it as weird. It's why we take a punt at most things, and I really can't think. It's when somebody we discussed the pagoda roofs with the curved card and everything. We were discussing what should we do for the Japan range. And we just saw it as a challenge rather than a weird thing.
Yeah,
because when we came to you with the Antares ideas and doing domes and curved things out of MDF, then you didn't bat an eyelid. You say, "All right, then we'll make that work."
Yeah. I can't. Can you, Steve, think of anything that's really weird?
No, I don't think it's weird because most things relevant to a game or a period. So it's not really. It's there's niche stuff, but is that we're in a hobby that's quite niche anyway, isn't it? The whole.
Well, speaking of niche, here's a couple of other questions come up here. So we've got the water mill, but have we considered a proper high level mill race rather than assuming it's a low one? We've got that.
Oh, we have. But that demands somebody have a hill on the table, So they've all been designed because a lot of people play on the flat. It would not be hard to just convert even that one that's got. If you
could if you built it in, you just put something. Scrap.
I mean, actually, because you mentioned it. Sorry, Steve, you mentioned it last week. Singleton. Have a look at Wildland Downland Museum. Their water mill. They're in Singleton, in West Sussex, maybe. They have a water mill that is just fed from above.
Yeah.
That's where the pond is.
Yeah.
It's the same structure as mine.
I'm just thinking on from your Borrows and Badgers the other week, and thinking doing a little table with the mill and the race coming in from a pond above, and I think that would look really smart on the tabletop. You can imagine the burrows and everything else.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose you could do, you could have it as quite a simple, just raised area, and just have a low level area on your table and then a high level bit.
See, Gary's making notes now.
Right. Well, yeah, because you've actually hit off something completely different genre. But and this is how it runs, folks. We'll have a chat. Steve and I have very long chats.
It's going on.
Everybody thinks they're rubbish, but actually what comes out of them is this product. So,
I'm going to throw another one in then from Adam Dews. Zeppelin.
That's on the list.
Oh, it is. Fantastic.
Oh, yeah, the very large list, which only I have.
Oh, no.
It might be noted, and I do have a solution for the construction of it.
Yay.
But it's just it's in the mix to get round to it.
If you look on the website, there is a kit that was kind of done, wasn't it, where there was the thoughts of doing something like that. It's in the end of the world.
Is it?
Yeah, we talked about it when we did it.
Then
on the Airstream caravan with a big car.
Oh yes, yeah. There's so much product, Steve. I forget half what we've got. It's
lovely round curves on that Airstream.
Yeah, no, that's I'm gonna move because my neck's uncomfortable and I've got to hide things. There are ways and means, yes, and ways of means in doing it in parts. So, I mean, AJ and I have discussed it as well, how we could create a Zeppelin, and we've had a good chat about certain things that didn't work when we tried something else. So, yeah, things are on the. There's a lot mixed in here and on different PCs in places.
See, Adam's just throwing things at us now.
Oh, he's just
shelter, barrage balloons.
Yeah, I knew that would happen.
No, we'll get back onto that, Adam. I think you need to start a petition for your Zeppelin, though. Right, I think at that point we're going to call it a night, guys.
Sorry, Rich. Just quickly, Annie's been chipping in.
Annie,
yeah. As we know, it all goes together, and I've just got to paint it and do the instructions. If Annie's still there,
Lumberjills.
Awesome. That would be why you needed that traction engine, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's a proper one, and there's a sawmill, saw blade to go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that we've done this week is, I've just printed some out, is we've got some more, there you go, little laid out some more downloadable guides as well, haven't we? So we can get them
printed. Fantastic.
Yeah. So I've just printed them out on the printer to have a look at them. But no, we'll get them PDF'd up and get them on the website as well. There's one on the top one is this one is household emulsion. The whole building's been done with household emulsion tester pots.
Oh yes, those tester pots.
So
all sorts of things lying around in the office, aren't there? I do love a good tester pot.
Yeah, mine are all going dry.
I might not get a chance. It's all base terrain that we use. Right, guys. Evan, we want to see your ambassador's residence as soon as you finished it. He's adding some air conditioning units. Andrew, that's an interesting question. We might save that one for another day about adding elements, magnetizing them, perhaps for turning period buildings into moderns.
I'm going to be testing out some spray on magnet paint soon. Yeah,
don't give it away. Okay, guys. Loads of stuff coming up. In fact, Gary, just before we finish off, your part 3 video is on rivers for the drain tiles. And yes, they are flat tiles of MDF with paint on them. So looking forward to seeing the rivers appear tomorrow. Watch this weekend on YouTube for them to appear there as well for the whole series. Keep liking them, make notes underneath it, and thumbs up for the videos.
And ask questions as well.
Throw some questions in there, and we'll make sure we try and get back to you on our next Thursday, if not directly. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Take care.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.